About 6 years ago, I moved out here to this dry piece of land. There wasn't much here at the time, but little by little things have taken shape. I thought it might be a good time to show you where things actually stand today. When I moved out here, I didn't have most of what you see today. It's really been a pretty slow, steady process to build up the homestead that I have. I came out here with very little, but I knew that I wanted to build infrastructure for shelter, water, food, power, and income. If you look around my homestead, most of what you see is scrap material. The cabin, in fact, is the first thing I really built with brand new material. Now I can go back in passes and update the infrastructure, but the infrastructure I put in place has done the job all this time, and that's how I was able to get a footing and build a little bit of stability. One thing I've always had since I was a little kid was a really good work ethic, and that helped me to get started. I worked very hard, maybe harder than I should have, physically, to build what I have now. But you're not going to build a lot of wealth by working really, really hard. It's a great asset when you don't have money and you can trade your time for money, basically. You put the work in, but eventually there comes a time where once you do start to make some more money, you can invest some of that money to hire other people to help you. And that's something that I've finally started to do. I had just a little bit of help on the cabin. A couple days I had a guy come out, but really a very, very small percentage of the cabin. But more recently, I've hired a couple different people to help me move posts and to start to set up the fence. And so the roughly 80 feet of fence I have out here, I've had help with that. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, there's a lot right with that. Like I said, there comes a point where you should invest in having other people help you rather than beating yourself up forever. So, right now, the focus has been to get those posts in, and I'll continue to do that around the entire perimeter of my homestead. And I'm talking, I've got the entire perimeter, and then I've got a fence around the homestead itself. I'm fencing the entire 2.5 acres in wood fence. The posts are 3 feet deep. They're 9 feet tall, so 6 feet above ground, and then 2x8s I'm covering the fence with. And this is a rock solid fence that's not going to have issues, and it does a lot of things. It most importantly slows the wind down. The wind is the most brutal thing out here. It keeps my animals inside, and it keeps predators outside. It offers a little bit of privacy if and when you ever need it. It will quiet things a little bit, when there's wind blowing or coyotes howling or whatever it might be. And it will start to make growing a food forest possible. You just can't grow a real thriving food forest when there's no wind block, especially in a really windy area. And so I'll start to be able to plant trees and make more progress that way. That doesn't mean that I won't start working on a barn eventually here, but the fencing is more important. The barn is, I can still have hay delivered and cover the hay, and the barn is a convenience when I get to it, but it's not an absolute necessity. Outside of those two projects and working on increasing my water harvesting ability, building a few more ponds that hopefully self-seal with glazing, those are the main projects, and I'm not trying to spread myself too thin. I'm now having some stability, and I'm going to roll with that for a while. And, I talk about shelter, water, food, power, income. Income is the last thing that I really focused on. And actually, the last few months, I finally have, for 3 months, I've been investing a huge amount of my time daily to create a massive amount of free resources on my website for you guys. There's a water calculator for building cisterns like I do, or ponds, or rain harvesting. There's the land locator to help you search land the way that I found mine. There's nothing like it on the market. It works anywhere in the world. There's people in Germany using it. I'm building a directory of friendly off-grid counties so you can find all the friendliest counties. I'm doing every single state, so I'm doing all 50 states, 4 counties per, and then I'll come back and passes and add more that are necessary. And of course, if you want more depth, I just finished a really good ebook. My 4th ebook? The best by far. I actually edited it pretty good considering my first couple of books were pretty horrendous because I'm not a author. And then also I have the path, which is just everything. If you really wanted to dive in, there's the depth. Oh, and one other thing that I've been very quiet about because I don't want to create a social media-esque thing, you know. I've created a community. It's a quiet community. And it's just for like-minded people who want to ask questions and interact with each other. You guys can talk and learn from each other. And then I will also chime in and continue to answer questions and whatnot. And I've been really quiet about it because I don't want it to be kind of a viral, noisy thing. I want it to just be for people who really want to be there. So there's that as well. The cabin is pretty well complete. I'm still going to do some upgrades and build shelving and things like that. And that feels pretty good to have some stability, a footing. And now it's mostly about going back and passes over the infrastructure I've already built and improving upon it and building my forever home. If you've followed along, you know that I have a pretty large rain harvesting system. I'm currently capable of easily harvesting and storing 12,000 gallons of rainwater annually, if not more. That's slowly expanding into a few more ponds out on the pasture, and eventually I will completely enclose those cisterns and whatnot with concrete and just upgrade everything, just like everything else. But they've worked flawlessly for years and will continue to for years. They're just, the cisterns are just holes in the earth lined in a billboard vinyl liner and then a lid on top. Of course, water's life, and I haul about half of my water and I harvest the other half roughly. As I expand, I'm confident that I can make a rain harvesting system that should last 3 years at a time. I can build a system large enough that if it didn't rain for 3 years, I'd still have enough water for everything on the homestead. But obviously, as I'm building stability and whatnot, I'll start to consider a well in the future. And that's something that I have in mind, a goal down the road. The horses have been phenomenal. They create a couple wheelbarrows worth of manure every few days. I take the manure and spread it on the earth. I've almost covered the entire inside, the inside perimeter of the homestead where I live in manure. And I've started to move out onto the pasture. And eventually I'll cover it all, and I'm going to rejuvenate it to the best of my ability. What comes will come. And, if I can grow grass out there, fine. If I can't, that's fine too. But a lot of grass grows out there natively just from the rain. I'm confident that I can do something that's valuable. And worst case, I have nutrient-dense soil that's less likely to erode. So the horses are doing really well. Sage must be around 5 years old now. Ginger's a little over 3 years old. She just had a foal. I'm learning a lot about horses. I've enjoyed having them around. I've got the dogs. There's cats. And, the chickens. I'll probably have to get a few more chickens because my chickens are getting really old. And I've only got 2 left. Off-grid living on YouTube is often very dramatic, exciting, enormous builds, things like that. But in real life, it's mostly just real life. which means it's slow and steady, building infrastructure and having playful dogs around the homestead. There are times that are stressful, but if you're slow and steady and you make a plan, things pan out pretty well. If you're wondering about the farm truck, I rebuilt that entire engine. It ran great, but it had a leak in the air intake and exhaust, and it was really cold, so I hadn't... Oh, and I got the van running pretty great, and so I hadn't resealed that yet. But I should be able to just seal that and get it going again here pretty soon now that it's warming up a little bit. It's still in the 30s in the mornings, which is, you know, kind of miserable. But that is largely where I'm at now. There are still plenty of things to build, plenty of expansion, lots of work, and of course the daily life of doing this. I plan to grow old here, and you're welcome to follow along.